What's up everybody, we are Diana and Phil. Diana's from the United States and I am from Germany, and in this video we're gonna talk about 4 drinking differences between the US and Germany.
Point number 1 is the drinking age. This is probably the most exciting for young people in the US because our drinking age in the United States is 21.
Exciting only would it be if they come to Germany, because our drinking age is different. For beer and wine it's 16 and for hard liquor it's 18. And there's even this little clause that you're allowed to drink at the age of 14 under supervision of like your parent. It's 14, that's legally 7 years younger than the 21 in the US.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because in the US you can do a lot of things at the age of 18, however you can't drink, but you can vote, you can serve your country, you can buy a lotto ticket. So that's usually the biggest argument for lowering the drinking age. However, like a lot of laws in the US, it does vary heavily from state to state. You mentioned that with parental consent you can drink under the age of 16 in Germany. You can do that in the US too, depending on the state, and they have certain reasons, religious reasons or parental consent, you're allowed to drink in a home private environment. But it varies heavily from state to state.
Getting drunk with your mom.
Yes. So what's really weird to me is my dad used to always talk about how college, it was so crazy because everyone was able to drink, it was like freedom. However, they changed the laws obviously by the time I went to college.
So back in the day it was 18 for them, right?
Yeah.
And then they changed it to 21.
And they changed it in the mid 80s, I think, in 1984. They changed the drinking age. They raised the drinking age to 21.
So fake IDs became a thing.
To get into bars or purchase alcohol and stuff like that, that's a little more popular nowadays.
Let me ask you that, how bad is it to be caught with a fake ID? What kind of offense is that?
It's very bad. So I know a few people in college who were caught with using a fake ID. There are a lot of legal issues because it could be identity fraud, especially if you use someone else's name and not your name.
Yeah.
Most people get a fake ID from a different state too, like an out-of-state ID.
It's weird to me because it sounds very serious, but it seems so common, so normal in the US. I think the German mind, the following the rules thing would be like, we would be very, very nervous, very unsure if we'd ever get a fake ID.
It's a little different experience when you tell me your stories of being a kid in Germany and being able to openly drink and stuff at the age of 13.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we started partying and drinking at the age of 13, which is super young. And I don't know which one I think is the better way to do it. I think 21 is definitely too old. I think the 16, 18 rule is potentially okay. I think 14 is definitely too young, even under supervision. Where I come from, on a village, people were drinking like crazy in their teens.
Yeah, well, I think it has a lot to do. I remember when we were learning about this law in school, they mentioned because a lot of states had different laws. So a lot of people that lived on those border states would just drive over the borders because they could drink at age 18. They would drive over the border, get drunk, and then drive back home, and that would cause a lot of DUIs. They say that raising the drinking age lowered the DUIs and DUI accidents. I'm not really sure, I haven't looked into the data, but that was one of the reasons why the drinking age was raised.
Doesn't matter which age, you should just not use a car when you go drinking.
Of course, and I especially think nowadays it's a little different because we have Uber and Lyft and a lot of taxi service apps that it just makes it a little more accessible to not drink and drive. Don't drink and drive.
Okay, point number 2 is gonna be buying alcohol.
Yeah, this is so interesting to me. Again, I think it varies from state to state how you can buy alcohol in the US. Some states require that you go to a separate liquor store, like for beer, wine, liquor, and everything, while other states allow sales in the supermarkets with just beer and wine. Some stores you have to show an ID and you can't even be under the age of 21 to enter the store or premises. But that's more for liquor stores.
So funny.
But I do remember when I was on a work trip to New Jersey, we couldn't just go into a supermarket to get wine. We had to go into like a separate liquor store, I'm pretty sure. It was different because in South Carolina you can usually get that in a supermarket.
Yeah, so that's usually how I know it. Like, I don't even know if we have liquor stores per se. We have some drink stores where you can get all kinds of drinks, like non-alcoholic and alcoholic, like a Getränkemarkt, a drink market. But usually all the drinks are in the supermarkets as well. So liquor is just openly displayed on the shelves. Sometimes for the more expensive ones or in weird areas, they have them locked and you have to call somebody. They open that closet for you and then they carry the bottle to the checkout for you. And when you're there, you're like, and that bottle was for me too.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why.
We've never purchased an expensive one.
And even funny, at the checkout, they have single chocolate bars for you to take, but also little tiny bottles of liquor like Jägermeister or vodka bottles.
You could get a small little mini bottle while you check out. Yeah, that's so interesting because even if you get like wine at a supermarket, sometimes they'll check the ID of the person you're with too. They would ask for both of our IDs even if I'm the one purchasing it.
That's so stupid. I have the best story about that. We were on a class trip to the DEANA'S, which is a peninsula in the Baltic Sea, Germany. And we were all 15, and one of my closest friends was 16 already. And we went to a gas station and we wanted to buy a bunch of beer. So we grabbed like six packs or whatever. And they're like, we can't sell that to you. And he's like, but I'm 16. And they were like, no, we can't sell that to you. It's not for you, it's for them. And we're like, but I'm 16. It's legally like he can buy any amount. They said, we'll sell you 2 bottles. I think that was the stupidest thing. We got so angry. If he's 16, he can't buy it. He just can buy it. But they didn't let us.
I thought it would have been different in Germany. They would be like, it doesn't matter.
It should be, logically, but it wasn't. Before we continue, I wanted to take a quick moment and remind you guys, please like the video. Every little interaction helps the YouTube algorithm. If you want to further support us, you can do that on Patreon. It's patreon.com/DeannaandPhil. And we have different levels of benefits, how you can support us, and every help is highly appreciated. So in this video, we want to give a shout out to our family member Patreons, which are Tony Sanchez, Marcus Ottensman, Mireia Rivera, Fred42, John Reynosa,
Lauren Jared, Ethan Mitchell, Heather Kuffner, Stephen Matthews, and Hessen Metro.
Hessen Metro.
Did I say it right? Hessen Metro.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
back to the video. Number 3 is gonna be the cost or the price of alcohol.
So if you don't know, we price compare a lot and for everything. Every time we go into a different city, we're usually price comparing. Phil likes to price compare the chicken to everywhere we go. It's like a thing he does. And we notice that the prices in the US for alcohol are more expensive than Germany. A lot of price comparison sites will tell you this as well, but you can definitely feel it in your wallet a little bit when you're buying wine or beer in a restaurant or even a supermarket in the US compared to Germany.
Yeah, it's very different. Like, let's talk about restaurant. You can get a beer for like 2 to 4 euros maybe, or a half a liter beer if you're lucky you get for 2 euros sometimes on a special evening or so, which is pretty cheap. But I also more noticed it so in the supermarkets. And that's even when you travel around in Europe. If you go out of Germany, alcohol is more expensive. Mostly a bottle of beer is freaking cheap in Germany. Or even a bottle of vodka. That's what we drank when we were kids. We got the cheapest vodka. That's why I know there's always vodka in a supermarket for $4.99. And we're talking about this standard 0.7 liter bottle. Then you have the Gorbachev vodka, which is like $9. And a bottle of Smirnoff or Absolute vodka, which are the most bought here. I think that's super cheap compared to many, many other countries.
Obviously, it depends on the brand. One of my favorite vodkas is Tito's, and that's a little more expensive here. But you have comparable vodkas from surrounding European countries, and it's so much cheaper in Germany. It's kind of crazy when we do a side-by-side comparison because we're talking about in Germany when we buy the alcohol, it has tax included versus when you buy the alcohol in the US, usually tax is not included.
Another funny thing, beer in the restaurants is sometimes cheaper than water. If you order a pint of beer, it could be 3 euros, and if you order a comparable sized bottle of mineral water, it could be 4 euros. But there's a rule I heard that there always has to be one drink on the menu that has to be cheaper than beer.
Is that really?
Yeah, somebody pointed that out when we talked about this stuff before.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't really drink beer, but when we go to a restaurant and I see that the beer is cheaper, I'm like, should I just drink a beer instead of a water?
Before we continue with the video, quick message from today's sponsor, NordVPN. NordVPN is a virtual network provider that connects you to super fast servers in 60 countries. Privacy is important, and with NordVPN there's no data logging going on, and the built-in CyberSec suite adds automatically as an ad blocker. NordVPN protects your privacy and your data while traveling in public places or when you use any Wi-Fi or any networks around the world. Also, NordVPN can unlock Netflix from anywhere around the world along with your favorite entertainment websites. So when you're traveling abroad, you can still watch the current TV series that you were on. Or you can stay cozy in your bed, virtually connect to a German server and check out some German movies. Also, it doesn't matter if you're a Mac user or a Windows user because NordVPN is compatible with most platforms. Click the link in the description and use promo code DEANA'S to get 68% off a 2-year subscription. That is only €3.30 per month, and you will also get an additional month for free.
Don't forget to use the link in the description box below. A big thank you to our sponsor, NordVPN.
But now back to the video. Alright, and our last point, number 4, is gonna be the open container.
So open container is a phrase we use in the US, and it's being allowed to walk around with alcohol openly. Like so. He's not 16 yet. So this usually refers to in public places like a park or a transportation system or the public street. A lot of places in the US you are not allowed to walk around openly with alcohol. Like I mentioned before, the laws vary heavily from state to state, and there are some cities and like areas where you're allowed to walk openly with alcohol. The first two that come to mind for me are Savannah, Georgia. There's this area where you can have open containers, and New Orleans.
Vegas, right?
I guess maybe.
Vegas.
I've never been to Vegas.
They run around with their big slushy
their big hurricane drinks. I've never been to Vegas, so maybe. So there are some areas where you're allowed to, but for the most part, you are not allowed to just go to a park nearby and have a picnic wine basket or something. You're
That's
just
so weird.
Not allowed to do that.
And we're talking very little spots in a huge country, so
Yeah,
mostly you can say it's not allowed, and it's weird because in Germany, if you're legally allowed to drink, you can walk around on the street at any time of the day, drinking alcohol, carrying your bottle of vodka, whatever you want to do. It was totally normal for us to go pre-drinking to a bar, or you hang out in a park and you get beer from a kiosk or from the supermarket because it's cheaper as a student. That's just what you do in Germany as a student. You go in summer, sit outside somewhere and drink, and then later on you go partying.
I'm so used to that now. I'm afraid when I go back I'll just forget and I'll just be like walking around with some wine or something.
It's not like we're doing that all the time.
That's true.
But yeah, that's usually the case here. It's funny though, in some places where I was like going out a lot in Göttingen, in one street they made it illegal to carry around the things anymore because there were too much trash and stuff lying around on the next day, I guess.
I lived in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a coastal city, and there are a lot of beaches. And I remember we would go to the beach and you have these koozies and you have your drink in them.
Koozie?
There's like a police patrol on a 4-wheeler going to every group that's sitting on the beach, checking to see if they had alcohol or not, because you're not allowed to have alcohol. I was with my friends and they made her pull out of her koozie and show that it was a Dr. Pepper and not a beer, and then they were on their merry way because they find people. It's such a weird thing. Like, if you're just going to enjoy yourself on the beach, why are you not allowed to have a beer? But I think it's specific beaches.
Yeah, dude, that guy's gonna be hated by everybody.
The trick is to cut out the Dr. Pepper and put it over the can. That's the trick.
Yeah, I think Germans like to drink on the water too whenever there's a river. You just saw that in Düsseldorf where we were. A lot of people just sitting on the grass on the water in summer especially and just drinking wine. So if you want to have a nice little picnic, you can bring a wine bottle.
I cannot wait for the German Christmas markets so then you can openly have Glühwein.
Oh yeah, it's another whole thing, the Christmas markets. All the Glühwein, all the punches and all that good stuff.
The
meat, yeah.
The meat, can't wait for December.
Alright, so those were our 4 differences when it comes to drinking between Germany and the United States. Let us know in the comments below what you think. What are the pros and cons of each system? Which one do you like better? And how do you see your standpoint towards drinking overall? Because it kind of changed for me a little bit. I think you should never overdo it. Please don't forget to like this video.
As always, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.